day to everyone. My name is Marianela, and I'm a program officer at the Secretariat of the Convention on Biological Diversity, with my area of work being biodiversity and health. So on the presentation today, I want to share with you some information about biodiversity and health linkages and the importance of this connection, and hopefully trying to convey a message that will help us to increase the co-benefits that we get from this relationship. So biodiversity, it's an important component of ecosystems, and ecosystems provide goods and services that are essential for human health and well-being. And those ecosystem services could be the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat. So our health and well-being somehow depend on nature, and there is no human health without biodiversity, considering the importance of biodiversity for ecosystems and the services that they provide to us. So the interlinkages between biodiversity and health, even though sometimes can be very obvious, they are also complex and they occur across different scales. For example, biodiversity gives rise to health benefits. For example, the variety of species is a source of nutrients and medicines. We also can say that drivers of change, for example, climate change, can affect both biodiversity and health in parallel. For example, the air and the water pollution can lead to biodiversity loss, and they can also have impacts on human health at the same time. And also there are impacts of health sector interventions on biodiversity, and on the other hand, also biodiversity related interventions have an impact on human health. So for example, the use of pharmaceuticals might lead to the release of active ingredients in the environment and damage species and ecosystems, but which in turn also may have then negative impacts on the services they provide for human health. So human population health is determined to a large extent by social, economic, and environmental factors. And once we understand that, then we can put that into context also with the relationship with non-communicable diseases. And why non-communicable diseases matter when we talk also about health is because non-communicable diseases, or NCDs, account for a significant number of global deaths and are a global problem affecting both developing and developed countries alike. The economic impacts that we have from non-communicable diseases are substantial as well. And many risk factors we know now for non-communicable diseases are environmental of environmental origin. So environmental risk to health include pollution, for example, radiation, noise, land use patterns. For example, how are we going to change the use of our land for example, agriculture practices, or for urban areas, to develop urban areas, and how we're going to change the use of that land might affect biodiversity and might have consequences also, of course, for human health. Biodiversity loss is also a risk factor, climate change, among others. So the list could be endless, but this is just to say that there are many entry points for the relationship between biodiversity and health, and in this particular case also with NCDs. Now, some examples, I want to share also some examples about how biodiversity and health linkages are related with NCDs. I have chosen 3 different topics. The first one is diets, which seems a pretty obvious one. We all want healthy and sustainable diets. So dietary diversity, underpinned by diverse crops, livestock, fish, and other foods, help to provide a wide range of essential nutrients and non-nutrients, such as fiber, for example, that are important for human health. Then, to a large extent, diets that are more diverse and more sustainable are also healthier, although this depends, of course, on the national context. And the environmental footprint, including, for example, greenhouse gases emissions, land use change, and species extinction of food systems. So this environmental footprint of food system is increased by dietary choices on certain products that could be, for example, refined sugars and fat, meat, ready to eat, or frozen meals that have traveled all around the world to get to your table. And the footprint could also decrease and help prevent diet-related chronic NCDs. So the thing goes both ways, right? And with diets, we can reduce that footprints with diets that consume less meat and refined processed products, or those based on a diversity of fresh and products. So, excuse me. So with this, it's important to then just realize that dietary choices can also lead to the increase of disease, right? And play a key role, especially with NCDs. Then what can we do about that, in particular on these examples on healthy and sustainable diets? We can promote healthy and sustainable diets, including through developing or updating food-based dietary guidance for our countries, facilitating policies that expand consumer choices and technology options that support biodiversity conservation and sustainable use, and strengthen the resilience of food systems compromised by ecological degradation, biodiversity loss, and climate change. Now, moving to the second example that I wanted to share with you today, because of the topic of this section as well, it's on green and blue spaces and the importance of green and blue spaces for biodiversity and for health. So green and blue spaces and urban planning can increase physical and mental health, including by providing air quality, reducing heat island. They can provide beneficial microbiota, as well as through cultural and psychological benefits, and they can also help us to encourage physical exercise as well. Therefore, the interaction with nature might contribute to treatments for NCDs, such as heart disease, depression, anxiety, and many others. And also very important to mention is that people who have contact with nature are more likely to then conserve nature, and especially children that are in contact with nature then are more likely to conserve nature when they grow up. Because if you learn early on to love nature, to respect nature, and to understand the benefits that we get from nature, then you are more likely to care about it later on in life. So as you can see, of course, it's pretty obvious that there are great benefits or co-benefits, I should say, between green and blue spaces for biodiversity and for health. Another example related to biodiversity, for example, is that these green and blue spaces in urban areas will facilitate connectivity and species interaction and pollination and many other things. So there are benefits for both sectors, and that is what I wanted to highlight. Then the final example I have is pollution. And very briefly, of course, pollution is harmful to both biodiversity and ecosystem functions and the health of people, animals, and plants and other organisms. For example, the nutrients reduce biodiversity in ecosystems, reduces water quality, well, excess in nutrients, of course, and causes eutrophication in water bodies. The use of pesticides can harm both pollinators, for example, and also, of course, human health. Early life exposure to plastic and plastic-associated chemicals also increase the risk of multiple NCDs. Therefore, reduction of pollution to levels that are not harmful to biodiversity will actually have a lot of benefits for human health. So those were the three examples I wanted to share, and I want to conclude this brief presentation just with a reflection on some actions that I believe are important for the challenges and the opportunities that we have at the moment in this specific area. So first is we should take stock of biodiversity and health interlinkages and have a better comprehensive understanding of what we need for health and well-being. Secondly, we need to develop integrated metrics, indicators, and tools that can facilitate the analysis, evaluation, monitoring, and the integration of biodiversity into health strategies, plans and programs, and vice versa, the integration of the health considerations into biodiversity strategies and plans as well. But we need more metrics, indicators, tools that can facilitate that work. We also need to apply nature-based solutions and ecosystems-based approaches to health promotion and also to disease prevention. And we need to transmit information to ministries of health periodically on the status of environmental quality, including air quality, soil, water quality, as well as the health of terrestrial, inland water, and marine ecosystems, and requests that these analysis of environmental determinants of health in the health sector include trends on the state of ecosystem services. Because of what I have explained, the close relationship between biodiversity and health, we need to make sure that all the analysis about anything that can be detrimental to health is also connected to whatever is happening to the environment and biodiversity. So these four things are the last points I wanted to leave you with, just as a reflection of potential points for discussion and actions. And with that, I will conclude my presentation, not before thanking the organizers and the moderators of the session for inviting me. And apologies, of course, for not being able to be there either live or in person. But thank you very much, nonetheless, for the opportunity. And I will leave you just with the contact, my contact. As I said, you can see there my email, as well as the social networks for the Convention on Biological Diversity. And you can reach me through that email in case of any question, or if you need further information on the work that we do under the CBD on biodiversity and health. Thank you very much.